AITA for telling my fiancé I'll leave him if he keeps using our money to support his homeless mother, who hid her foreclosure from us for years. This whole situation is a mess, and I don't know if I'm being heartless or just finally setting boundaries. My mother-in-law lost her house due to foreclosure. The twist? She never told us. For years. My fiancé and I absolutely would have helped if we had known. We're not rich by any means, but would have done whatever we could to make sure that she was able to stay in her house. Especially because she lives with her severely disabled husband, my fiancé's father, and her disabled adult daughter. Now they're all homeless and we're left scrambling. When everything came to light and they got evicted, I immediately got them an extended stay hotel and paid for a week in advance. While talking with my fiancé about how they were going to pay to live in the hotel, I was told that their disability check would be used for housing. But apparently my fiancé kept paying for their hotel and their storage unit, all using our joint bank account, without telling me. I didn't notice right away because I have a business that I'm trying to grow, and I'm busy taking care of our child. Yesterday, I finally looked at our finances and saw that over $11,000 was used for all of their stuff, and I completely lost it. I drove to the hotel and told everyone that no more of our money would be used for them. I told my fiancé that if one more cent of our money was used, I will break the engagement and leave. It's not that I don't care about them. I do. But I feel betrayed that she hid the foreclosure from us, let the situation spiral into homelessness, and used me as a personal piggy bank. This money that we have is to go to our new house that we were supposed to be buying and also to my daughter's school. I also feel disrespected that my fiancé went behind my back and used our money without asking. Now the morning after, I'm starting to feel guilty, like it's my fault that they're going to be on the streets. Also, I feel it's important to add that we have never had a good relationship with this side of the family. We have been together 13 years, so this isn't a new relationship. His mother has never really wanted anything to do with our daughter except for maybe 3 holidays a year that we go to her. Am I the asshole for telling them that I will no longer financially help? That was the post I dragged myself to publish. I remember sitting at my kitchen table that night, the warm hum of the overhead light mixing with the uncertainty that rattled my thoughts. I'd spent so long burying my emotions under endless work and the constant needs of our small family that I'd lost track of what mattered. It felt as if I'd been living in a fog, and suddenly the truth about our finances and the deception that had slowly chipped away at the trust one held dear, came crashing down on me. I was overwhelmed by a sense of betrayal and heartbreak. I had given my all to this relationship, to this family, and now I was forced to confront a situation that I never even knew existed. Driving to the hotel was a blur. I remember the screeching tires and the heavy silence that accompanied every turn as I neared the building where my future in-laws now resided. The cold winter air couldn't compete with the chill in my heart. I was livid. I confronted them, my voice shaking with anger and sadness. No more of our money, I had declared. I told my fiancé that if our finances were used again without my knowledge, I would end the engagement and walk away. In that moment, I felt a surge of power, a power I hadn't felt in years. But as I looked into the tearful eyes of those who were struggling, I wondered, had I done the right thing? Or had I become the villain in someone else's tragedy? That night, I barely slept. I lay awake in our guest room, the echo of my own words circling in my mind, questioning whether I was selfish for prioritizing our future over their desperate need. I also thought about my fiancé. How had he allowed this to happen? Had I not been in the dark about every expense that slipped through our account? The betrayal cut deep, leaving me wondering if I even knew him at all. I hit submit on my post with trembling fingers, not knowing whether I was seeking advice or merely unburdening myself. I wasn't entirely sure which side of this turbulent situation I belonged to, and I desperately needed perspective. It wasn't long after my post went live that the comments started pouring in. I spent the next few days reading every single piece of advice, every opinion that tried to help me navigate this tangled web. Some commenters urged me to take a step back and consider the complexity of familial ties, while others agreed that my boundaries were absolutely necessary. One comment in particular struck me deeply. A user wrote, "I can understand why you feel betrayed, but maybe take a moment to learn the full story. Sometimes there are deeper issues at play." That comment, along with several others offering advice about financial transparency and relationship boundaries, compelled me to dig deeper into what had really been going on behind closed doors. After those initial comments, I felt compelled to share an update here, my second post in this 3-part series. I began by explaining how the confrontation at the hotel had ignited a series of events I could never have foreseen. As I narrated my experience, the advice of the community wove seamlessly into my narrative, In the days following my impassioned outburst at the hotel, I was bombarded with messages from people who shared their own struggles with family obligations and financial secrets. Maybe there's a reason he did it, one comment suggested, reminding me that every family has its skeletons, while another warned me, be careful. Sometimes secrets have a way of coming back to haunt you. I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to this story than a simple misuse of funds. I learned that my fiancé's mother had been facing challenges that went far beyond the foreclosure. She had been entangled in a web of promises made to desperate friends, and the expenses that drained our account were not just for a hotel stay or storage, but for a series of unplanned medical treatments and urgent home repairs that she had kept hidden out of fear of rejection. This revelation, hinted at in one of the more empathetic comments, made me question if I had been too quick to judge. The comment that said, "Sometimes people make decisions out of love, even if they're misguided," resonated with me deeply. I began reaching out to my fiancé to discuss every single expense, every unapproved payment, and the full spectrum of reasons behind them. Our conversation was raw, unfiltered, and filled with painful admissions. He revealed that his mother had confided in him about years of financial abuse and manipulation by an estranged relative, a secret that had left her too ashamed to share with anyone, even when the foreclosure loomed. He admitted that he had been trying to quietly fix things, hoping to shield both her and our future from further chaos. I was taken aback. Here I was, seeing only betrayal and financial irresponsibility, when in truth, the situation was much more complicated. As I processed this new information, the flood of advice continued to pour in. Comments urging compassion and understanding blended with cautionary notes about financial boundaries. "It sounds like a complex issue. Talk to a financial advisor and maybe even a therapist," one commenter recommended. "Don't lose yourself in trying to fix someone else's past," urged another. Their words reverberated in my mind as I began to see the tangled network of loyalties, secrets, and well-intentioned yet misguided actions that had led to this moment. Yet, just as I started to find a way to forgive and understand the motives behind my fiancé's actions, another twist shook the foundation of what I believed I knew. Late one evening, while sifting through old documents my fiancé had left on our shared desk, I discovered a series of letters and financial records that detailed a covert arrangement between his mother and a local charity, an organization with a stellar reputation for helping families in crisis. The records showed that a significant portion of the money that had been withdrawn was not only for the hotel, but also for community-supported services aimed at rehabilitating the lives of those affected by her financial downfall. The charity's involvement explained the unusually high expenses, and a comment from one of the supportive voices online echoed in my head. "Sometimes, the actions we perceive as selfish are driven by an overwhelming desire to do what's right, even if the execution is flawed." I felt caught between worlds. The community's advice painted a picture of nuance and compassion, urging me not to rush into judgment. Their words, woven into the fabric of my narrative, provided solace and challenged me to look at the bigger picture. I knew that if I was going to salvage my relationship and our future, I needed to understand every detail of this hidden story. Was my fiancé a manipulator using our money as a crutch, or was he a man ensnared in a family tragedy, doing everything he could to mend broken lives without asking for forgiveness? I started questioning every decision I'd made, every impulse reaction. In the echo of every supportive and cautionary comment, I began to re-examine the layers of my own emotions. Guilt warred with righteousness, anger clashed with empathy. And as I compiled all these experiences and pieces of advice, it became clear that my next steps would require not just hard conversations with my fiancé and his family, but also a willingness to confront my own unresolved feelings about loyalty, responsibility, and trust. That period of reflection was harrowing, but it also brought clarity. I decided to meet with a financial counselor recommended in one of the comments, and even began speaking with a family therapist to unpack the tangled emotions that were holding me back. The process was slow and painful, filled with moments of regret, sorrow, and even relief. And while I wasn't sure if my relationship could survive the revelations that had come to light, I felt empowered by the support of a community that was willing to help me navigate a path toward understanding. In one particularly memorable comment that I now carry like a mantra, a user wrote, "Even in the darkest family secrets, there's a spark of love that can guide you through. Trust yourself enough to find that light." Those words kept me awake on many long nights, their comforting tone urging me to seek the truth and, in the process, discover who I truly was. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of difficult conversations, startling revelations, in the painstaking process of rebuilding trust in both my fiancé and myself. In my third update, I want to share the latest turn of events, a story that, even now, feels surreal. After confronting my fiancé and learning about the hidden charity payments and the years of secret struggles his mother had endured, we embarked on a journey to piece together the fragments of our fractured lives. I decided to work together with him on a detailed audit of our finances. Every receipt, every bank statement became a clue in the puzzle of our shared life. It was during one of these late-night sessions, surrounded by piles of documents and half-empty coffee cups, that I found an envelope tucked away behind an old ledger. Inside were letters written by someone I had never expected to hear from, my fiancé's estranged uncle. The letters revealed that our family had been entangled in a decades-long battle with a shadowy figure, a person who had manipulated our family's finances and relationships from behind the scenes. According to the correspondence, this uncle had been siphoning off funds and exploiting our family's vulnerabilities, using the chaos to hide his own fraudulent schemes. I was stunned. Everything I thought I knew about our family history suddenly took on a darker hue. The financial mismanagement, the secrecy, the misdirected money, they all seemed to be part of a larger, insidious plan. The comments on my post had prepared me, in a way, to question the surface of the situation. Dig deeper, one had advised. And so I did. I began cross-referencing old family records, reaching out to distant relatives, and even hiring a professional investigator on the insistence of another well-meaning commenter who had written, "Sometimes, secrets run deep. It might be time to get some help uncovering the truth." With each new piece of evidence, the tangled web grew even more complex. One revelation that shook me to my core was that my fiancé's mother had been deliberately misinformed about the state of her finances by this very uncle. In a series of carefully worded letters, he had convinced her that her only option was to keep her problems hidden and rely on the charity and our help, rather than face the harsh reality of her situation. It was a manipulation that had lasted for years, and my fiancé, too young and too trusting to see the deception, had become a pawn in a larger game. As I absorbed this new truth, I realized that my anger and hurt were not only directed at my fiancé or his mother, they were also the result of being manipulated by an outsider who had thrived on our vulnerability. This twist, though painful, sparked a fierce determination in me to reclaim control over my own destiny. I decided then that I would no longer be a passive bystander in the life of a family drowning in secrets. I set up meetings with legal advisors and financial auditors to help unravel the extent of the misappropriations. I also began documenting every conversation, every discovery, so that nothing would be lost in the chaos of our emotions. In the midst of this turmoil, my child's innocent questions about why our lives were suddenly so complicated reminded me of the real stakes of my decisions. I could not allow the tangled web of deceit to steal away the future I had envisioned, a future built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. I knew that if I was going to make things right, I needed to confront the painful past head-on and forge a new path forward, not just for myself, but for everyone involved. During one particularly emotional discussion with my fiancé, he admitted tears that he had been carrying a heavy burden for years. "I thought I was protecting you all," he confessed, his voice raw with regret. "I never realized that in trying to shield you, I was actually tearing us apart." His words echoed the supportive comments that had guided me earlier. Sometimes, the intention to protect can lead to even greater pain. We both knew that healing would require more than just apologies. It would require rebuilding trust from the ground up. And then, as if fate had one more surprise in store, we received a letter from the local charity that had been involved in the payments. The letter explained that the charity had uncovered evidence of fraud tied to the estranged uncle's actions and was now working with law enforcement to bring him to justice. The revelation was a turning point, a moment when the darkness that had shrouded our family began to lift. It wasn't an instant fix. The road ahead was still filled with uncertainty and the need for reconciliation. But there was hope, a glimmer of hope that we could start over, free from the weight of secrets and manipulation. In one final, heartfelt update, I want to share how all the advice, the comments, and the surprising twists have reshaped my life. One comment that had resonated throughout this journey summed it up perfectly. Sometimes the hardest battles we fight are against the secrets we keep from ourselves, and in facing them, we find our true strength. I now understand that while my initial reaction was fueled by anger and betrayal, the truth was far more complex. I began to appreciate the importance of communication, of transparency, and of the unwavering support of a community that was there to help me see beyond the surface, with the estranged uncle now facing legal consequences. My fiance's mother slowly began to reclaim her dignity, supported by both the charity and a newfound determination to set her life in order. Our relationship, though scarred, started to mend as we sought counseling together. We learned to navigate the murky waters of family loyalty and personal responsibility, and I came to understand that while love sometimes means setting tough boundaries, it also means forgiving and growing together. In the final analysis, I realized that the journey was never just about money or betrayal. It was about the hidden forces that shape our lives and the importance of confronting uncomfortable truths. The community's advice, woven into every step of this journey, helped me see that every story has layers, and every secret eventually finds the light. I stand here today, reflecting on the twists and turns of the past few months, not as a victim, but as someone who has reclaimed control over her life. I'm still on this path of healing, and I'm grateful for every comment, every piece of advice that pushed me to look deeper, to question, and ultimately, to forgive. Now, as I prepare to share this story on YouTube, I hope that those watching will see it as a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always a spark of hope waiting to ignite a new beginning. My journey is far from over, and though there are still wounds to heal, I'm ready to embrace the future with open arms, armed with the truth and the courage to rebuild what was once lost. Every time I read the comments on my original post, I felt as though a chorus of voices was urging me to see beyond my own pain. One user reminded me boundaries are important, but so is understanding the reasons behind a person's actions. Another added, sometimes the pain we feel is compounded by secrets that have been hidden for years. Don't be afraid to ask for help. These words, among many others, echoed in my mind as I pieced together the fragments of a story that had grown exponentially more intricate than I could have imagined. As the truth emerged, layer by painful layer, I began to see that the actions of my fiancé were not born out of malice, but from a deep-seated need to protect a family legacy riddled with betrayal and manipulation. The comments advising me to dig deeper and seek professional help became the catalyst for my decision to engage with financial experts and therapists. It was in these sessions that I learned about the long-term effects of unresolved family trauma and the importance of setting healthy boundaries without shutting down compassion. I remember one evening sitting by the window, reading a comment that said, "Healing is not a straight line. It's a labyrinth of pain, love, and redemption." That single line resonated with me so strongly that it forced me to look at my own emotional scars not as signs of weakness, but as markers of survival. It became clear that while I had every right to protect our future, I also needed to honor the complexity of our past. Integrating the perspectives of strangers who cared enough to share their wisdom, I found myself on a journey of introspection and gradual forgiveness, a journey that was as challenging as it was transformative. There were moments when I almost lost hope, when the revelations about the estranged uncle and the subsequent financial manipulations made everything seem hopeless. But each time, a comment like, "Sometimes life forces us to confront our darkest secrets so that we can step into the light," lifted me up. Slowly, I began to piece together not just the financial puzzles, but also the personal ones. I saw that my identity wasn't solely tied to the pain I had experienced, but to the strength I found in overcoming it. In the end, the advice of the community was not just about managing money or handling family drama. It was about reclaiming my narrative. I learned that the unexpected twists, though painful, were opportunities for growth. I embraced the fact that every hardship had taught me something invaluable about trust, forgiveness, and the importance of communication. I no longer saw my fiancé's secretive actions as a betrayal, but as a symptom of a deeper, long-standing family issue that needed healing from the inside out. Now, as I wrap up this multi-part narrative and prepare to share it with a broader audience on YouTube, I am reminded of how far I've come. What began as a post fueled by anger and a desperate need for boundaries evolved into a profound journey of self-discovery and reconciliation. I learned that while setting boundaries is crucial, understanding the intricate layers behind every action can lead to true healing. I've continued to work with financial advisors, therapists, and even legal experts to ensure that our family's future is built on transparency and trust. My fiancé and I are in counseling together, determined to rebuild our relationship with a renewed sense of purpose. The estranged uncle's schemes are now unraveling in court, and the charity that once supported my future in-laws is helping them find stable footing in life. Slowly but surely, the wounds are beginning to heal, replaced by cautious hope and a commitment to truth. As I stand here today, I share my story with you all in the hope that it might help someone else facing their own labyrinth of family secrets and unexpected betrayals. The journey is not easy, And the path to forgiveness is often steep and winding, but I have discovered that even in the midst of chaos, there is an undeniable strength that comes from confronting the truth. Every comment, every piece of advice I received has been a stepping stone toward reclaiming my life. So, to anyone watching who might be in a similar situation, know that you are not alone. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. And as I learned through every twist and unexpected turn, the true power lies in our ability to face our darkest secrets and, in doing so, find the light that leads to a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for following along on this journey. I promise that while the story has been filled with pain and betrayal, it is ultimately one of redemption and hope, a reminder that even when life seems overwhelmingly complex, there is always a way to rebuild, to forgive, and to start anew. I'm sharing this story not only as a cathartic release of my own struggles, but also in the hope that it may guide someone else through their darkest moments. The journey from anger and betrayal to understanding and eventual healing has been fraught with unexpected twists, twists that have forced me to confront not only the deception of those around me, but also my own inner fears. With every turn of events, every insightful comment from strangers who became silent allies in my time of need, I found the strength to forge a new path, a path that honors the past without being defined by it. In the end, I stand here, not as someone broken by the revelations of the past, but as a person empowered by the truth. I am learning that sometimes, the best way to honor love and family is to confront our darkest secrets and, with the help of a compassionate community, work together to create a future that is honest, resilient, and filled with hope. Thank you for reading, and I hope this story, full of twists, heartache, and eventual triumph, resonates with you as much as it has reshaped my own life. Your support and advice, woven seamlessly into every chapter of this narrative, have shown me that even the most tangled webs of deception can lead to unexpected new beginnings.